And so we're here again tonight speaking with Ewan Todd, and we've decided tonight that we're going to do a prequel to last week because in our enthusiasm, we completely forgot that a lot of people don't really understand what Organite is. So we're going to start from scratch. And Todd is going to explain to us exactly what Organite is. So take it away.
Well, yeah, after re-listening, I was like, I was probably pretty vague in descriptions, and then we just kind of just went from there. Me and Janet are both quite kind of free thinkers, so the conversation just flowed. But it also ties in with, I think, what we're maybe going to speak a bit about tonight as well, in regards to Chembusters or Cloudbusters. So basically, in recent history, say in the last 100 years or so, the the main proponent of what would be called like Organite itself is quite a sort of a new age term. It's like quite recent, a recent kind of term. So like it started off as orgone energy, and this was a term created by a guy called Wilhelm Reich, who was I think it was an Austrian sort of psychologist scientist dude who came over to the States, and his description of orgone was basically just like it's basically just anything beneficial, like life force. It's like you'll heard it called like prana or chi or even the ether stuff like that. So it's basically just a beneficial sort of medium. What that would be described as orgone. And the opposite of that would be what's called DOR or deadly orgone radiation. So like that's like the opposite of it. That's like the absence of life force. That's what we're experiencing a lot now, especially over the top of town, quite a lot of towns and cities in the UK. So basically, Reich came over. He did a lot of different things. It wasn't just in relation to orgone, but he created this box called an orgone accumulator, and it was big enough for someone to sit in. And basically, it had the same materials as we described last week: the metal shavings and the inorganic material, the brass wool, everything like that. And basically, he would get his patients to go and sit in this box for, I think it was maybe like 20 or 30-minute sort of intervals. And he was getting some pretty fantastic results. I'm not going to say anything here in regards to the big C or anything. I don't want to get Janet in any kind of trouble, but like he was treating people successfully for some pretty major health conditions, so I could say that. And of course, the old FDA, who were on the go then, as they are now, they kind of cottoned on to this and didn't really like the sound of this. And they actually, in a roundabout way, basically stormed his laboratory, took everything, confiscated everything, burned all his books. They ridiculed him, and they like in the public eye made a mockery of him, chucked him in jail, where he died of natural causes not that much longer after that. So you can always tell you're doing something right when the establishment or the elite treat you like that. So quite a sad story, really. But he was the sort of our modern era, say the last 100 years or so. He was the father of ergonomy, basically, and he created the chembusters, which obviously there was types of weather manipulation happening back then as well. I think this was around the 50s. This happened, 40s, 50s sort of thing, around the tail end or just after the Second World War.
Just on
So
that note, could
go
I
on.
just say, on the subject of rainmaking and such things, I'm of an age where I was at primary school in 1960s. And I distinctly remember it would have been around about 1968, we were doing a geography class, and I remember our teacher talking about cloud seeding and how they have the ability to make rain. Now, fast forward 10 years, in 1978, someone very recently sent me a link to a video where Blue Peter were talking about the exact same thing. So, yes, But right now we're conspiracy theorists. So carry on. Sorry.
No, no, you're quite right. I'm sure we'll come to the weather aspect at some point. Um, so yeah, fast and forward a little bit. Like I think Organite is something that's been kind of coined in the last maybe like 20 or 30 years or so. And as we discussed last week, there is a lot of like fake, non-working orgone devices around, and there's plenty of that. So it is important to go to reputable sources or make it yourself if you feel inclined and you've got the space and the time and access to the materials. It is straightforward to make, and it doesn't need to be pretty to be active. So yeah, in regards to more recent sort of people within the movement, one of the main names that you hear a lot is a guy called Don Croft, and he had a Chembuster or a Cloudbuster that was the one that you sent me and asked if we could speak a bit about it. He was around. I think he was sort of one of the pioneers of what's called the gifting movement, and that's when you can leave orgone devices roundabout, phone masts, any sort of high EMF given areas like your local sort of power distribution center, anything that's like giving off non-beneficial life energy, DOR basically. And it's quite actually hard to find much information on this guy at all. I found some of his memoirs in his diary, and that was one of the only things. There's literally no videos of him online. It's like he's been scrubbed from the internet. He also died in a mysterious hand gliding accident because, like, when you actually read what this guy was up to, he was living in a complete sci-fi world, and like, I believe him. It's like it's been pulled. All of this stuff's been pulled over our eyes to like blind us from what we are actually living in at the moment. That's a very magical and science fact world, basically, with strange things going on. And him and his partner Carl, she was a powerful psychic, and she was able to see. She was able to see, for example, the radiation coming off the top of cell towers and stuff like that, or areas with like black spots of energy that needed to be gifted with orgone. And I think we were saying before the call, it's not just about protecting from EMF. It's just like harmonizing a full area that might have some kind of like ancestral trauma or something in it. Something bad might have happened there. Yeah, live anywhere where there's been a sort of a massive impact on human or animal life. It's got a trace of that in an energetic sort of component, and that needs to be cleared. Otherwise, bad things can happen there. So yeah, Don was disappeared as well, sadly. But there's a lot of people carrying on his work. I would say more than ever now. There's more people aware now of this, what's going on, than ever, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you can buy, especially the orgone pyramids.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to be really, really popular these days. And there are a lot of gift shops and places like that are selling them. Personally, I think a lot of them are selling them because of their popularity and not actually realizing exactly what it is they're selling. And I have actually picked up a couple of really nice little pieces, quite reasonably priced. And you can feel, and I mean, it's like we were talking about before earlier on. I bought this one from your friend, and you can actually feel the energy, and you feel it changing the energy around you. And it's absolutely brilliant. A lot of gift shops are selling what they think of as trinkets that are absolutely genuine. And it's amazing. And I'm loving seeing this all over the place. But I totally agree with you. Yes, you can make your own. And the more that you have around your home, the better protected you and your family are. Not just from electromagnetic fields of energy coming from electronics, but also from psychic attacks and such things. I mean, most of my viewers will understand where I'm coming from with that. They all know that I'm this very strange witchy type person who does energetic healing. And without Organite around my home, I don't think that my healing could possibly be as good as it is. And that's just another use for it.
Definitely, definitely, it can amplify your own powers and stuff like that. Don't put yourself down either, Janet. I think the people that are strange are the ones that aren't getting an understanding of what's actually going on here. So yeah,
Oh, look, I totally agree with you. But, looking at it from, let's say, Joe Normie's point of view,
yeah,
they look at us as being the strange ones.
yeah.
I kind of think that we're in a kind of a divided world in that way, but there are a lot more people are coming round to looking more towards shamanism, Taoism, Buddhism, anything that just helps to raise their vibrations. And I will never, ever chase at anybody or tell them don't go down that route, because if it raises your vibrations and if it helps you to feel happy, then the happier you are, the less you're going to attract into your auric field.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Totally agree.
But that said, we still need to try and protect our properties. So it would be great if people could learn how to make their own organite, because when you said about making your own, my first sort of vision was making, how amazing would it be to have tiles and have your floors tiled with this stuff. I mean, can you imagine that?
Probably be levitating in your ass or something, wouldn't
Are you insinuating that I don't already?
it? Good on you. Not quite right. That's a good idea. That could be a sales pitch for you there, though. Orgone tiles. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, I've got an awful lot more on my plate at the moment without doing that. But yeah, I think that would be so. If somebody out there is into making this stuff, there's an idea. Argon tiles.
Quite right. Quite right.
So really, all you need, isn't it, is resin. You need some sort of crystals, preferably shungite or one
Well,
of the
you can use quartz, but you can just like if you're short for cash or you don't have access to it, you can just go and get shells from the beach and just like crush the shells and they'll do just as good as quartz.
yeah.
So it can be as simple as you like, really.
One of the good things to put in as well is selenite,
Yeah,
for the simple reason that selenite it but then becomes almost self-cleaning.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, like anything else, all of these pieces still need to be cleansed. They need to have the negative energy removed from them, otherwise they stop working. But if you have selenite in them, it kind of self-cleans. So that's a good idea.
Yep. The,
Yeah.
the the fastest and easiest way to like clear or recharge your organite is just leave it outside overnight on a full moon or a new moon, and that'll be enough to like pull anything off it. But it doesn't need to be a regular thing. But yeah, now and again, definitely doesn't hurt.
Just exactly the same as with a crystal. So we do that with crystals.
Yeah,
And we do, I mean, Organite, much the same as quartz. I would suggest, or an amethyst especially, I would suggest the full moon definitely is the best way to cleanse. Don't put it in the sun, because harsh sunlight will discolor it, and when it's discolored, then it loses its power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll just be the magnetic pull of the moon pulling the energy off it, is it, Janet?
Well, again, we're not going to get too deep into that because, there are those of us who don't actually believe that the moon is real. But
Or what is the moon?
personally, I think that the moon may well be a spaceship. I believe that the original satellite was blown up in the war between the Atlanteans and Lemurians, and they had to put another satellite in place. And I do believe that it actually houses aliens at this time.
Oh wow. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anything's possible at this stage.
absolutely anything is possible. So when people tell me that it's the natural energy of the moon, I'm kind of like, yeah, bite your tongue. But there you go. Now I'm putting this out on YouTube, and everybody's going to know what my views are on the moon.
You can't keep everybody happy anyway, Janet. Is that
uh,
fine?
yeah, I'm beginning to learn that. So, cloud busting technology then.
Yeah. So, well, why would we need a cloud busting or a cloud buster or any kind of cloud busting technology, first of all? Is that something you want to feel into here, or would you rather leave that for a bit?
I do think we could possibly look at the fact that even back in the 1970s, when we were first being told all about cloud seeding, there was this huge thing about acid rain. And therefore, it's quite mainstream that our clouds are not pure. They're no longer pure. So the water that is fallen from the sky is no longer pure.
Yeah.
So therefore, um, we don't, when we say cloud busting, we're not looking to create or stop the rain. We're looking to cleanse it.
Yeah. And get some blue skies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cloud seeding and even geoengineering has sort of became a bit of a household term really now. Even like what was it, about a month or 6 weeks ago, they brought out that they were going to be dimming the sun as if this is some like new thing that they're going to be doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the reason behind that is because well, it would still surprise you because there's still people that think those lines in the sky are like condensation or something
Oh,
coming off the
yeah.
backs of planes. So
Doesn't surprise me. I meet them every day.
but yeah, same. But I think potentially why stories like that are coming out is because there are a lot more people becoming aware of it. And we all know like the government like to control the narrative. They like to have the one up on everybody. So they'll like grab that and be like, yeah, actually we are doing that, but we're doing it for your benefit. But actually for your benefit because you have messed up the climate. And the climate, we're going to all get incinerated if we don't do this. We need to block the sun and how unhealthy the sun is. Everybody's terrified of the sun now.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like it's another arm of the government that's come in just to like take charge and the fake climate crisis and all this carbon neutral like BS that we're getting fed. It's just like it's wearing really thin for me to be honest. So yeah, there's nothing new in regards to geoengineering, as Janet was saying when she was at school and stuff. Even before that, I think like Second World War, they were like cloud seeding and like making it rain on the enemy basically. Then, so this is not new. This could be close to like 100 year of us being subjected to this, but they're definitely ramping it up at the moment over the last few years. Last year especially, what was it like in Scotland there? It was like I
It
think we had
was constant rain,
it was
constant.
beyond depressing last year. I think we maybe had a week of sunshine, and even then the sun was blocked. I think the level of basically two parts to this. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I think they've released stories like this to like control the narrative, but also to like keep people away from the deeper sort of aspect of what's going on here. Like chemtrails are just like a symptom of a much bigger operation. in regards to our weather. We don't even have a full understanding of everything that they can do in regards to the weather. Like, as you can probably imagine, I spend a lot of my time outside looking at the sky and stuff, and like they can like create a shield that will just like follow the sun around every day and like reduce the heat of the sun and like probably a lot of the light codes that are coming through. They're doing everything that they can because sorry to jump around again, but I'm sure you'll agree with me. I genuinely believe that there is an awakening of consciousness happening in this realm at the moment, and I think the sun's got a big part in it. It certainly feels like that when you sit in it. This year's been amazing. We've had probably more sunshine this year than in the last, well, as long as I can remember. I'm 37, and like,
How much of a coincidence do you think that is? You know, I mean, from my where I'm sitting, I sat and I looked, and on one hand, the government were saying, we're going to use geoengineering, we're going to make it rain and block out the sun for you. And then all of a sudden, we get hit with this glorious weather. And we're being told that it's lethal because the temperatures were soaring to what, 24?
oh, absolutely astronomical temperature, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. There are no coincidences at all.
No.
And I personally believe that the sun has an intelligence behind it. I think everything has a level of consciousness. Everything that is manifest has some level of consciousness. So I think the sun's on our side because yeah, that when you I've obviously been keeping an eye, especially recently. It's been amazing, and like you'll get up in the morning and that smog's there, like that's the DOR that I was talking about. That's how they're. It's not just chemtrails spraying. It's like they're able to manifest that just by like charging the atmosphere off the amount of frequency from all the towers, all the devices, everything like that. So like you'll see that in the morning, but then when the sun gets up, even some mornings it doesn't even get a chance. But as soon as the sun gets to a certain level of heat or like energy coming off it, it just evaporates it completely, and they're not able to do it. I've seen more chemtrails in the last month than I think I've ever seen in my life, and in those really, really, really big solar radiation days, they're not even able to come close to the power of the sun.
Yeah,
So it's definitely
yeah,
quite promising.
yeah.
Uh, but to go,
So
go on.
what can we do about it? What can we do
Yes.
about the quality of the water that is being poured on us?
So I'll speak about the Chembuster in a minute, but just to like go back to what I was just saying there, something that a lot of people are missing out on because they are actually just focusing on the chemtrails. And I understand the thought behind, yeah, a plane flies over, sprays a load of particulate, and then that particulate shimmers down and then either forms clouds or is somehow held in place by the towers. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. And like I think it's got to do with, yeah, the towers. And yeah, they are spraying particulate. That is definitely happening. But I think that's potentially more just to make us ill, to like dumb us down and all that kind of stuff. And also infect us with like nanotechnology and stuff because they're spraying that as well. But I think they're actually able to like charge the atmosphere that much to a certain extent that they're able to like do this thing that's what's called ether damming, which is actually like they're able to build up rain from the ether. So it's like they're basically charging it that much that it's like the water molecules are just forming there, and that's why you're seeing that brown sort of grey horrible like cloud that just makes you feel really it's really suffocating on those days when you just there's absolutely no sun and no light. It's horrible.
Could
So
that be the dust that you see on your car windows every morning as well?
you mean that shiny dust that sticks to
Yeah.
magnets?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that must be working wonders for everybody's respiratory systems and stuff. I'm sure it's not a. I think it's a coincidence again that everybody's been like coming down with like coughs and like flus and you name it. But in regards to your question, what can we do about it? You can start at home and you can put orgone around your house and you can put it next to all your devices as we described last week. Then you can put it in your garden. You can get from a mate's site, you can get these things called earth pipes, which are just like a copper pipe that's filled with quartz crystal and basically just the orgone mix. You can bury them in your garden and that'll form an even bigger bubble. They're basically like an acupuncture needle for the earth. They'll relieve all the geopathic stress that the ground's under. and then yeah, just work your way out from there. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but like if you feel like going and leaving some round about your local masts and stuff like that, it definitely won't do any hurt. You can do that. But as for the if you want to go big, which I'm not against either, because like this is a massive operation that we're dealing with here, and like if there's anyone feeling overwhelmed and like depressed about what I'm saying, then I'm with you. Like I came through all this. Like when I realized what we're actually involved in and what the so-called government or beyond them, the higher echelons are actually doing to us, it makes you feel sick and it makes you feel pretty scared. But like just know that this is one of the ways that you can protect yourself and protect like stand your ground. Like we're Scottish, we're meant to be able to like stand up for ourselves. So we should be able to have something that can help us, and that this is it. So like, yeah, Don Croft's Chembuster, it's basically just if you were gonna make it, you could just make it in maybe like a 10 liter tub of like a huge mix of argon. There's guides. I'll get Janet to put a link or that below this video, but it's basically just six copper pipes with a double terminated quartz crystal at the bottom of each one, and then again like a mix. I think it will have a mix. Oh no, I think the mix is actually the base, so the pipes should only really have the quartz in them, and then that's basically just like buried into the ground, the base, and then with the pipe sticking out. I'm just going to check so that I get this right. The best way to have your pipes is to cut them at sacred cubit increments. So it can be any of these increments, but it has to be at least 52.4 centimeters in order to get that. It's basically the sacred geometry of that shape to give it the maximum amount of power. And basically, if you get a big enough one, that'll change the frequency of anything that comes within its radius field, which can range 100 meters, and it just harmonizes and neutralizes every chemtrail, every like DOR cloud, every like source of negative energy within the area, and like the more the merrier. Basically, if every single one of us had one of these in our garden, we would have completely normal weather. And I'm not against rain. Like we just had the first rain we've had in like a month, and it was actually nice to see it. Like everything, even the trees were looking thirsty. So like that's not what's happening here. What's happening globally here in this weather agenda is that like they are messing with the natural flow and the natural rhythms as much as is possible. So like we are getting way more rain, or we have had way more rain than we needed to. Places that are hot, they're cooking them. They're desertifying. They're desertifying the like hotter countries. They're bringing all the rain that should be going there and evened out, and they're bringing it here. And the same with them. So like they're basically trying to terraform this planet. So yeah, I don't want to go too deep, but like Mars used to be probably a planet that's similar to here. And I think as far as I understand and as far as I've researched, the same faction that have did that to Mars are now here. So that's one to watch for sure. And I would suggest anyone that finds that interesting to maybe have a little look. And the final thing I just wanted to add is I don't have all the answers. Like I'm a painter and decorator. And like I've just found all this out by like through my own research and like laterally through my own intuition. So like this is possible to anyone. Like and yeah, I would highly suggest that if this interests you at all, or if it's keeping you up at night worrying about what can we do here, I would suggest hitting the books first of all, because the information is out there. It's becoming fewer and further between, but there's way more of us than there is of them, and we are the powerful ones. So it's important for us to understand that power and not be led astray anymore.
Yeah, again, I reiterate that the importance of keeping your vibrations high. And I do understand we are talking about some very deep subjects here. And for a lot of people, this will be quite scary. But again, my viewers will understand where I'm coming from, how I work with angels, and I work for the light. And Ewan does too. He just comes at it from a different direction. And as long as you are working with the light and you are surrounding yourself with your light beings, with your guides, and making sure that you are personally, psychically protected, then you will keep your vibrations high enough that you will be able to overcome anything, absolutely anything.
Agree. Agree. No,
Ultimately, this is our planet, and we do not want to see it destroyed.
no,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. I have faith in humans for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But usually things need to get so bad that enough wake up and enough say like enough's enough. I think a lot of people are still too comfortable or and like what you're saying, a lot of these subjects are not they're not easy to talk about, never mind listen to. So like but I also believe in like just closing your eyes and pretending it's not happening. That's kind of like that's off the agenda as far as I'm concerned. You need to go through all of this stuff and like deal with it in order to like integrate it rather than just trying to run from it because I think we've been running from it for too long.
Yeah. Yeah. Aye, it's like trying to run from an avalanche.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Not going to run from an avalanche. Dig your way in and make sure that you know where is up.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Is that us for tonight then? Shall I stop recording?
I think so.
Thank
Yeah.
you all for coming along, and I will put some links up, and um I will once again put a link up where you can buy Oregon that we know is well and truly a good quality, as well as the links that Ewan had been talking about earlier.
Yep.
And
Someone.
we will see you all again next week. Yeah.
See you then.
Okay.